Dan, did I ever tell you that I have a special superpower?
I don't think you have. I'm not aware of that.
I
No.
I have a superpower. I
Oh,
am good. I am good at predicting. I am good at predicting things. I just have one problem with it though that I still got to get figured out.
what is that?
I'm great at predicting, but I'm just not great at predicting the future. Other than that,
Well,
I'm great.
that could be that could well, that's good that you're great at it, but it could be a slight problem with your power.
Yeah, I just got to get that one step worked out, and I'm good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Uh
yeah, I'm not aware of that. I guess
huh.
I was not able to predict that was your power.
Well, you got to work at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have been dealing with a very exciting life event that I want to share with you,
Oh,
and it gave me some insight into the future, Dan, into the future.
uh-oh.
And I see how this can really relate to firewood. I
Do
can.
I need to put on my sunglasses because the future is looking bright?
or your tinfoil hat,
All
one or
right.
the other here.
Which
Yeah.
one should I put on?
I do live kind of close to a cell phone tower, so this could explain how
Oh boy.
my brain has been misfiring here. I am seeing the future, and I just want to share with you and with everyone out there in podcast universe listening to the Woodhounds.
All right.
And yeah, Dan, there is a very special title that the Woodhounds podcast has. Do you know what that is?
Other than the number one firewood podcast in the world.
No, that's it. That is
Oh,
the
that's
only
it.
thing that
Okay.
people
Yeah.
need to know.
Yes.
We are the largest firewood podcast in the world right here. And if you are listening to us on your favorite streaming service or on our website, thank you for hanging out with us. And thank you for making us the number one firewood podcast in the world.
I have another little nugget to add to that. Do
Yeah.
you know that this episode right here is episode 150?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
150.
I still go back to when we were starting this, that we set our first goal at 4.
Yes. And
Yeah.
here we are,
I
146 other episodes later.
uh-huh. Our only standard was we wanted to have excellent audio, so we both bought nice microphones, and we said we'll try 4, and if it doesn't work out, oh well.
Right.
But
The
yeah,
the the objective was we're going to have fun and see where it goes.
yeah. And
And here we are.
146 episodes later, here we are.
Yep.
150. Are you serious?
Yep, this will be episode 150.
Yeah, and our 3rd anniversary is coming up then too on 2/22
Yeah.
because our kickoff was on 2/22/22.
Yes, it will be. This so yeah, next week will be our 3rd year anniversary.
Yeah.
Whew.
All right. Well, the fact that I'm able to predict the future, I kind of knew that we were going to see this success. I just kept it to myself. I didn't want to feel like I was bragging.
After that 4th episode, you knew we'd hit 150.
Yeah, it was just going to
Yeah.
be a matter of 146 more episodes and we're going to make it. And here we are.
How many more will there be?
I'll just keep that to myself too. Well, we did miss last week, so
We
that
did.
could have been it. Yeah, that
Yep.
could have been it. And there were a few people out there who were upset. They checked in with us, and they were concerned. They want to make sure everything was okay. And of course, it is. It's just called winter,
In
and
life.
in life.
In
Sometimes our
life.
schedules
Yep.
just don't mesh. Yeah,
Sometimes things don't align.
Yeah.
It's
But I looked at my list of predictions and that was in there. So I had that one covered too. Everything's good.
so you knew it. Yeah, that you knew it was coming. Everything's fine.
Yeah. So here is where my thoughts are, Dan. And this is where I was talking about seeing the future. So my oldest daughter just graduated college, Dr. Emily,
Yes.
and she passed her state board. So she's got her license and now she is beginning her career. So she has gone from being a broke college student to a, you know, starting off with a very good salary. Let's just say that.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
And well, I told her, don't forget about her mom and dad.
Yeah. Right.
I would like to retire one day. She could take care of me. Yeah. So she's, she's not rich, but she's starting off very good. And she's earned everything that she's achieved so far. Trust me when I say that. Very hard worker. So, what do you think would be the first thing a young kid that grows up, goes away to college, hits the jackpot with her major and her employment? What do you think the first thing that they would want to do when they get that first few paychecks coming in?
Vacation. Get out of here. Celebrate.
All right, Dan, I agree. Vacation. And she did after she took the boards before she got her results. She went and ran off with some friends to a sunny part of the country.
Oh.
All right. But that doesn't count.
Okay.
So then the paychecks come in. So what do you think would be the first thing that a young person like her in her position would want to do?
Oh boy. And maybe go to the movies, get your nails done, and have go out for dinner.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Does she have a place to live? Does she have a apartment?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
Oh, I know. A new car.
Yeah, new car. Yeah,
Yes.
she wanted a new car. And she has lived her youth and her collegiate experience in a used kind of a little Ford Focus kind of a car.
Oh yeah, we gotta get rid of that.
Oh, it's a nice car, but she wants a new car. And who's to stop her? She can afford it and she wants to it's important to her. She wants a new car. So she lives in the city and the roads are tight. She's, a smaller framed person. She doesn't like SUVs. They're too big for her. She doesn't like them. She wants a car. She wants a car. She wants a sedan. Kind of
Ah,
like the story that we told of the couple that drove up the mountainside in a car, got stuck in the snow. She wants a car.
yes.
Okay, so here's where my eyes started getting opened. Okay. Yeah, okay, everything's expensive. Let's just get that out there right now.
Yeah.
So she
Yes.
wants a car. So if you know my family, we drive Fords.
Yep.
Um, Ever since my dad moved his family from West Virginia to Ohio, he said that they taught him the 3 R's: reading, writing, and Route 250 to Ohio. So he loaded the family up in the old Ford. It was a 49 Ford. And the joke was he was on his way to Cleveland, but his old Ford broke down in the Mahoning Valley. So he built his house here. Yeah, we drive Fords. Well, guess what? Guess what, Dan? Here in the year 2025.
There aren't many Ford cars out there, are there?
Aren't many? There, there are none. Ford doesn't make cars anymore. They had a Mustang, but that doesn't count. Fords don't make cars.
Oh, I never. Yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking of it, maybe they. I always think of Ford trucks, the
Yeah,
SUVs. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They don't make cars. So, we have some family members that were in with GM, and here in the Mahoning Valley, it's kind of like a GM town. Well, it used to be, but they all moved the factories out of the country. But still, people are loyal to GM. Well, guess what? When we go to the Chevy dealer,
No cars,
they don't make cars.
trucks, and SUVs.
Yeah. What do
Oh,
you think if we were to go check out the Dodge dealer?
I think Dodge only makes trucks, don't they? Do they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of. I guess
Well,
the
they got SUVs,
they
don't
got.
they? Yeah.
Do they?
Minivans or whatever they're called.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, yep, okay.
Yeah, they don't make cars. So you got the big three here in the United States. They don't make cars, Dan. They don't make cars. They make SUVs and trucks. And their SUVs, they got small ones, but they're still high off the ground. She just doesn't like them. She wants a car. So that leaves for her, if she wants to buy a car, she has to buy something, made in a foreign country. Mexico,
Kia,
uh,
yeah. So yeah,
yeah, Korea, not China, Korea, Germany, Sweden, they make
yep,
cars
yep.
and they get imported in the United States. Well, okay, so this young woman wants a car, and none of the United States manufacturers make cars. So what is she to do? She wants a car. She's got to look somewhere to buy a car. And that was one of the things that I saw, not at her level, because she wants a car. I saw it at like a macro level, that here is a young person who's grown up, who has now put herself in a position to carve out her own little place of the world. And the private sector has nothing for her here in our country.
Yeah,
So,
the American made the
yeah,
brand loyal. If you're being loyal to a brand, that's where you kind of run out of options.
yeah. And talk about brand loyalty. Dad's first car was a Ford. Well, guess what? He's driven Fords ever since. And
Yep,
he passed that down to me. We drive Fords. And the same thing with like my wife's families, they drove Dodges. They drove all Chrysler products. And when you buy a product, you're more likely to be brand loyal because then you trade it in. There's another one on the lot, you buy it.
yep,
Well, here
yep.
is an entire generation of Americans that are there's nothing for them. So Ford, and I'm picking on Ford, but they deserve it. Ford has lost an opportunity to have a new generation of customers for life. And that is what I see into the future, because the
Oh,
people that buy SUVs and trucks are the people who can afford them, which aren't usually your younger people, that are looking for a more economical option. And so is Ford to expect that after she is in her career long enough, and she grows a family, that then she's going to turn and go buy a Ford? Or will, if she buys a Volkswagen, is she going to look to Volkswagen when she trades her car in to get an SUV?
interesting. I guess I've never. I I guess when you do look at it from a brand loyalty point of view, if you wanted to stick with Ford, yeah, there isn't. They have nothing for
Yeah, there's nothing.
that growing, I guess, younger generation.
Yeah. When I was growing up, now my first car is a Vega, but like my first car that I bought for myself was a Ford Thunderbird. It was as long as my house, and the the hood emblem was in a different area code from the trunk. Yeah, but then when I bought my first car, I bought a Ford Escort. I bought a Ford Taurus. We bought a Mercury Sable. Then we had the Ford SUVs. All my trucks are Fords. We just drove Fords.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was because my first purchase. Well, here you have young people growing up in the United States that are looking, that maybe they don't want an SUV and they want a car. And all of the foreign makers make cars, every single one of them. But the United States ones don't. And that's where I'm just saying, this to me spells trouble down the road for an industry. And that is where I started self-assessing. Well, what about my firewood business?
Oh. Uh-oh.
What about your firewood business? Let me ask you this, Dan. Do you have a sense of like your average age of your customers, or maybe even the ones that buy out of your roadside stand, the people that you've dealt with?
The average age, I would say, of my local customers that buy regular firewood out of the roadside stand. I would say they are older than me, so they're like in whatever that
They're 30s.
they're. I'd say they are on average 60 plus years old.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I feel the same way. The age of my customer base is older. There are a few younger ones in there. But that is where I started thinking, why is that? Why do you think it is, Dan? Do you have an idea?
Just the way they growing up, like firewood was something that probably was a part of their family growing up, and it's just they know what it is, they're familiar with it, they've been using it their whole life. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Stuff
think
like
I
that.
think so. I think so too. And or maybe younger people can't afford, the bigger houses, so they're in apartments and all. And that's where, if our industry is to continue to grow, and I don't think burning wood's going to go away anytime soon, but if you are looking at a changing demographic, maybe the firewood industry, the appliance industry, the machines and all need to start looking into the future and seeing what needs to happen to, reproduce our customer base, because
Yeah,
this younger generation growing up may not have ever experienced the the majesty of a beautiful fire.
right. Or they are the younger generation is more in tune with like efficiency and size, like these small tiny homes, and like you kind of see that with some of the wood burning stoves, like offering smaller efficient or fire stove wood stoves.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of like another thing I think might impact and change the direction of firewood.
I kind of see that too. We had talked about this in the past about the size of the stick of firewood.
Yeah.
And, there is a big voice out there of just trying to keep things stuck in the past. Like when I show my firewood stacked, I always get comments, too small, kindling. They want big chunks
Yep.
of firewood. And I think that is the older generation standing in the way of, the new generation, or a product that is acceptable to a new and growing population of our customers.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely the you can definitely notice and pick out the generational mindset of people who grew up heating with wood, and you needed an 18-inch round of wood only needed to be split in fourths, quarters, big chunks. That's what you
Yeah.
burn because they last longer, and that's how we did it. And
I think not only just like the type of firewood and the style of firewood, but maybe even the way we market it or the way that we reach out to our customers. And that's where I'm leaning on the internet. This younger generation, has grown up not knowing a world without cell phones and smartphones. And they don't look at cork boards at the grocery store.
no,
They don't look at signs tacked onto a telephone pole.
nope,
You know, I think you got to get on the internet. You got to be mobile. You got to have a multiple presence on social media.
yep. Well, and I think you also need to, as a firewood supplier, start paying more attention to the image that you present to the customer base. I think that's another big thing that, in the past it was, firewood Joe down the road out in the hills, people just had that, I guess, whatever. The image of a guy doing firewood was, he's got
Yeah,
a big old truck. It's a beat up old truck that's had, 1,000 cords of wood thrown through it. But nowadays, I think some people might look at that and say, oh, I don't know if I want this, I don't want a truck pulling in my driveway that might not start and make it back out.
uh-huh. I am totally digging what you're saying here, Dan. And I think too, this younger generation has grown up in the era of Walmart, you know, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Walgreens, everything
Yes.
is professionalized, everything is sterile. And if there was this romantic era of the 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 simple guy down the road with his Pennsylvania tuxedo and his rusted Ford dumping a dump truck load of wood onto your driveway, that's not appealing maybe to the newer generation, and a more polished and professional appearance is.
Oh, definitely. Got to make firewood sexy again. Or I don't know if it ever. I don't know if it ever was. I don't know. If, I can't use again. But that's the. It's selling more than it's again comes down to that whole line. It's more than just firewood.
Yeah, totally agree. And I also think too, and that's where I think here in firewood, and this isn't, I would argue, just marketing, but it's reality. When I was talking with my one logger, and he was saying, I was trying to understand the logging industry and how firewood plays a role. And the one thing that the firewood industry does is, especially with the loggers, it helps clean up a job because it gives a financial incentive to the logger to spend some extra time cutting up all the junk laying on the ground and haul it to someone like me who will buy it. And then cleaning up the floor like that allows other stuff to grow, and the trees to grow again, reclaiming the forest, I guess.
Right.
And that is something where in the firewood industry, we got to make it clear. Well, it's not always the case that you're just going out into the woods to cut down a tree simply for firewood. But even I think people that are responsible about it, they look for cull trees that if you can get, you manage a wood lot so that the other trees can grow better so that they can become worth more when it comes harvest time in 10 to 20 years.
There's hardly. I mean, with me, I take in trees that need to be removed. They're coming down anyway. It's not like the tree is being taken down just for firewood. And I've kind of leaned into that a little bit with like some of the stuff I market with like my roadside stand and even like now the mini firewood. Like, it's locally sourced, and if it isn't going to be made into firewood, it's probably going to just be ending up in a landfill somewhere.
Yeah. Or junking up a yard. There was a something that hit the news out here. It was a logger who it was kind of in a residential area, but it was a large timber stand. And they went in, they cut down all of the market trees and left. And the place, I guess, was a train wreck. And the neighbors complained. And, that was when I was talking with my logger friend. He was saying how that is the role that the firewood industry plays for him, because he doesn't leave a mess like that because it's his reputation on the line. And that is where the role that the firewood industry can play is something that's marketable to the new generation because they are more environmentally aware. They care about this kind of stuff, and it's an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely is. And it does,
Mm-hmm.
kind of bring up when you do make that comparison of like cars, you know, the younger generation, having firewood that may not necessarily be what you always thought it was. Like a lot of times when you hear firewood for the first time, you think of what? Heating. But,
Yeah.
you just, the younger generation, they have so many different things now coming around that like tabletop fire pits, smokeless fire pits for your backyard, um,
Yes.
small wood stoves for tiny homes or campers. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity besides just big chunks to throw in a wood stove.
Yeah, and that's where I think if I'm looking into the future now, the future, the impacted future might be when you can come to my nursing home and tell me how it's going. But if I were younger in this industry, I would have my finger on the pulse and I would be trying to find new and exciting markets, which technically I did with Ohio Woodburner because I avoid selling firewood to people that have traditionally bought firewood because, they're like me. They're cheap and they're looking for the cheapest wood they can get. They don't care what it looks like. And I would never buy my own wood. I market to a different market. Okay, but it just makes me wonder, and especially after dealing with trying to go car shopping with my daughter, it was such a disappointment, and it was such a blind spot for me too. That I just wish I had a magic wand sometime, because now I'm no expert, I guess. There's smarter people that work at these companies than I do. I mean, when I look at their CEO salaries, I guess they're doing great. I guess
Yeah,
they're doing
no
awesome.
kidding.
Yeah, but here is a young girl, and I know she's not the only one out there that would love to have a car, and the domestic makers have nothing for her,
Yep.
and they're losing. They're losing an at bat.
And when she was looking for a car, what were like in the top things for features that she was interested in?
Oh, technology.
Right. So when
Yeah,
you go out and look at like cars, and you want that Bluetooth connectivity to your phone. You want
yeah,
the digital dashboard, the heads up display with the map. You mean so like if you think back now, even 5 years ago, all of that stuff in cars, 10 years ago, nothing. That would have been that's not something that you put at the top of your list for features. You know what I mean? Like so
yeah.
when you think
Uh
about
huh.
firewood, you have to change with the market and what's going on and what people want and what people expect. And I think that's where too many people within firewood stay stuck in the past.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you said that too, because when you were saying that, I was thinking, well, that sounds like a a problematic future for the firewood industry, because we're still dealing with people that are scared to touch firewood because they think they'll lose money, or they mock people that bundle firewood, or they mock small, mini firewood.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Anything less than a 2 cord delivery is bad.
Oh, why is
Uh-huh.
that?
Yeah, Dan,
That's
I
the
couldn't I couldn't tell you.
maybe.
When we talk about people getting triggered, I got triggered. My
Uh-oh.
last video. Yeah, my last video. This guy was on me, again, here we go for stacking firewood. And and I just tell him, we talk about a commodity. Every commodity in the world, Dan, if you touch it, if you add value to it, it creates more value and it makes you richer. You can sell it for more money. And I'm just looking at the firewood industry as a whole, and I'm just thinking there's so many people out there that have some old-fashioned beliefs. And those are the things that are, this industry's chained to the, I wouldn't say the 20th, like the 19th or 18th century with firewood. And getting some of this, this thought out of people's heads and stuff. I don't know how it could ever possibly take place. And I recall too, one of my very first videos I had ever done, and that's when I was scratching my head thinking, what the heck did I get myself into? It was it was a delivery of logs that I was filming, and I was talking about how I buy firewood and I resell it. And this guy, I don't know who he was. He was just furious that I was, he was calling me a ripoff because I was buying something and reselling it. Did I tell my customers that they could have bought it for the price that I bought it for? And I was thinking, well, how is this any different with firewood than it'd be, if I were to buy, furniture? If I buy furniture and resell it, how come
Right.
all these retailers are allowed to do it, but you're not allowed to do it in firewood, Dan? Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the challenges for the industry, on top
Right.
of, the changing demographics of our population here.
Exactly. And there's two lines of thought, and I am still trying to figure out why with firewood it's so hard. So many people. So there's two. You can look at things two ways. You can say, how can I make the most amount of money with the least amount of effort? Or you can say, how can I use more of my effort to make the most amount of money? And with firewood, that's, like with stacking, how do you put more effort in to then get more out? Instead of
Yeah.
just looking at it from the point of how can I do as little work and little effort and make, money. Like
Uh-huh.
that's where I think sometimes the firewood industry has everything kind of backwards. Too many people are looking at firewood saying, I don't want to do any work and I want to make money, without realizing, like, firewood, if you don't want to do work, firewood is not for you. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I do believe that you're on to something there. There are a lot of attitudes in the firewood industry that are bizarre. I just scratch my head at it. That people, if you wanted an easy life, I don't know what, like deliver pillows or be a paper towel salesperson, something like that. But firewood, you get into it because there is some level of physicality. But then, some of these attitudes and we've talked about this before too. I think it's just because there's just people have low regards for firewood. They just think it's beneath effort in a lot of ways, like stacking firewood. The people that go to these extremes to avoid stacking firewood, when really just stacking it would have been the easier decision. Okay. But yes, I totally agree that there's something unique about firewood that you don't see, with other, like natural gas, oil, minerals, lithium, all the other minerals that get extracted out of the earth. You don't hear that what you do with firewood.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, what vehicle did your daughter go with?
She hasn't gotten one yet.
Oh, hasn't found one.
No, but she's leaning towards a Volkswagen.
I don't. So the Mustang was off the list, huh?
Yeah, the Mustang's not going to be a reasonable choice for her. Yeah, she wants something that is practical, but has got a lot of tech in it.
Yes.
But she has it down to 3 different cars.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's a big decision.
Yeah. It's just disappointing, because again, when I think of cars, I think of Fords. We were growing up here in the Mahoning Valley. We were probably the only all Ford family here in the Mahoning Valley because it was GM country. We had the Packard electric plant, Delphi, the Lordstown plant that made all of it. Had a van plant. Started off with like the 62 Impala, and it finished up with the Chevy Cruze. And, so everything's just been closed down and shipped off for cheap labor somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah. But, they don't make cars. So, oh, well.
Well, you'll have to let us know.
Maybe we need to do
we
need to do an episode on loyalty, Dan.
Yeah. Brand
What's a loyal
loyalty.
person to do? Yeah. What's a loyal person to do?
Right. It's tough. Yeah. I guess not buy a car from Ford.
Get an e-bike. E-bikes would be nice, except for this time of year. It's pretty cold outside.
Jeez.
This winter's never going to end.
No, it's almost over. I hope, because I can't take it anymore. All right. Well, if you didn't find a car, but should we strike up the band?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's strike up the band.
Strike it up. And thanks everyone for tuning in. You heard it in the beginning, to the #1 firewood podcast in the world.
Yes. And thank you for tuning in. And if you would please give us a 5-star review, we would greatly appreciate it. It does help with our search algorithm things that you hear about.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Dan. Well, let's tell everyone thank you again. And let's also say to be
safe.
And if you can't find a car,
buy a truck.
Buy a truck and lend it to your dad.
Yeah.
And have
a great day.